Alright, this is the warnings and disclaimers at the beginning of the video. Movie footage and or stills used in this video are owned entirely by the copyright holders. I, Cooper West, the sole owner and operator of this YouTube channel, hereby make no claim of ownership and simply utilize said footage for the purposes of commentary, education, and criticism under fair use. Please support filmmakers and the art of filmmaking by watching Five Nights at Freddy's in its entirety on Peacock and Home Media, releasing in January 2024. Warning: spoilers for the Five Nights at Freddy's movie will be abundant in this video, as I will be performing a deep analysis of the film in its entirety. If you have not seen the film yet and are planning on watching it unbiased, please leave this video now and only return after you have seen the film for yourself and have constructed your own opinion. However, if you have seen the film already or are indifferent towards spoilers, please enjoy the video. I am a FNAF fan. If you know what those 5 words mean, there's a good chance that you're a FNAF fan as well. In which case, you should remember April 7th, 2015, when it was first announced that we would be getting a Five Nights at Freddy's film adaptation. You probably remember the disappointment, as year after year this film was canceled or dropped or rewritten or shifted directors constantly over and over again, like we would never get it. You remember the hype when it was announced Blumhouse had picked up the project and were actually giving updates, but of course this movie's been in development for 9 years at this point. There's no way this'll stick. You probably remember exactly what you were doing when you saw the first teaser drop on YouTube. This was it. This is what we as the community had been waiting for nearly a decade. Finally, this movie had traction. It had a chance. This movie was finally being made. We were watching history before our eyes. Teaser after teaser, trailer after TV spot, after sneak peek, after interview with the cast. We were so ecstatic, and then the day finally came, October 27th. Streaming on Peacock and in theaters the same day. We, the fans, would finally see the movie we had been waiting so long to see. History was being made as I turned on Peacock on my TV, logged in, and as I sat down, I prepared myself to watch what years of lore, story building, and dedication would result in. So why did I feel so empty? Now, please don't mistake this for hatred. I do not hate this movie at all. In fact, this is a movie I can see myself rewatching countless times. This might become a regular watch for me. I did not hate this movie, but I honestly can't say that I loved it. The whole thing, it felt insincere. When the credits rolled, I didn't feel like I had just watched Five Nights at Freddy's, the movie adaptation. I felt like I had watched a modern-day Hollywood PG-13 horror film with the Five Nights at Freddy's brand name. YouTuber cameos, obscure references, and fan service can only get you so far. And that's why today I would like to share why I believe Blumhouse's Five Nights at Freddy's completely misses the mark. The plot centers around Mike Schmidt as he struggles to take care of his younger sister Abby, both struggling financially and mentally. In the midst of his desperation, he finds a job as a security guard at the now-defunct Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. He takes this opportunity to explore his childhood trauma related to the disappearance of his younger brother, Garrett, all the way back in the 80s. He utilizes lucid dreaming to attempt to uncover details surrounding the mystery of his brother's disappearance. However, things don't go according to plan, as his job at Freddy's is a lot harder than he initially thought. Discovering that both the animatronics are alive and the restaurant has a very dark history relayed to him by Officer Vanessa Shelley, Mike's mental health journey is thrown off course as he struggles to survive each shift and keep his sister safe from both the evil grasp of his aunt and the animatronics. Now, on paper, that sounds like a pretty damn solid plot for a Five Nights at Freddy's film adaptation. Sure, it's not very lore-heavy, but you know what? It doesn't really need to be. This sounds great. The problem lies in the execution. Jesus fucking Christ, the execution. Instead of suspenseful, tension-filled scenes of Mike struggling to escape the grasp of the animatronics, trying desperately to survive each shift, we spend almost every shift asleep, dreaming about stuff that happened 20 years ago that doesn't even have a resolution or any resounding impact on the plot. This entire movie is mostly filler, and that is terrifying. I knew going into this film that Five Nights at Freddy's also meant 5 days not at Freddy's, but I was expecting them to utilize that time so much better. Instead, we get family drama that goes nowhere, a dream subplot that goes nowhere, and turmoil between Abby and Mike that gets resolved in a couple of lines near the climax. The direction is all over the place as the film tries to juggle so many different developments at once. However, instead of tying things together or at least providing satisfactory resolutions, most of it is left up in the air or is unresolved entirely. You know the dream sequences that I mentioned earlier? Mike navigating his subconscious to try and find Garrett's killer? Yeah, that entire subplot gets completely derailed when Golden Freddy's spirit asks for Abby, and Mike says yes. What the fuck? It's established that finding Garrett's killer means a lot to him, and yes, that does mean he puts his sister on the sidelines occasionally, but they make it very clear that he loves her dearly, so him making this choice is so obviously fake. It's actually insulting to Mike's character. This is one of many examples of the film deliberately making characters make dumb decisions to advance the plot forward. Because the film is juggling so many things at once, it can't flow them all together naturally, so everything feels so forced. As a hardcore Five Nights at Freddy's fan who's been here from the beginning, I can forgive it to an extent, and I myself didn't find it too difficult to bear through the boredom to get to the good stuff, but a casual fan, or God forbid, a newcomer to the franchise, is going to be turned off almost instantly. Simply due to the film's focus being on the wrong thing 99% of the time. These animatronics that we have come to know as mindless killing machines are portrayed as cute, cuddly creatures for Abby to play with. The 5 missing children, a crucial element of the game's lore, is criminally undermined as they are only used to push Mike's dream plot forward, which again, goes nowhere. William fucking Afton, the purple guy, the man behind the slaughter, the main antagonist of the entire franchise, appears in, I shit you not, only 3 scenes. 1 near the beginning, 1 slightly after the beginning, and 1 at the very end during the climax. That is it. The main antagonist of this entire thing is in 3 scenes of this hour, 50-minute long movie. What the fuck? What I'm trying to say is that the film's focus is completely all over the place. So much so that the killer animatronics that are on the poster rarely ever get a chance to actually be scary. And when you're making a Five Nights at Freddy's movie and you barely show the animatronics actually being scary, you're doing something wrong. TLDR, the plot, while sounding good on paper, is comically mediocre when put to film, simply due to the poor execution of almost every plot element introduced. The tone is inconsistent, the focus is non-existent, the pacing is way too deliberate, it stinks, and I don't like it. I'm not gonna sit here and act like there aren't great moments in this film. When the story is focused and the plot actually delivers what the fans want, it's gorgeous. Sitting down and watching this film for the first time as an OG FNAF fan is something I will never forget. But it's impossible to deny the overwhelming amount of flaws dragging this film down. And while I and other hardcore FNAF fans might not have had much of a difficulty bearing through the boredom to get to the good stuff, other people are not going to be as forgiving, rightfully so. I highly doubt people are going to want to spend 5 nights, let alone 5 minutes, trying to decipher this haphazardly executed plot resembling what a good video game adaptation should be. This film looks like Stranger Things. So did Ghostbusters Afterlife. So did Chucky. So did Megan. So did Renfield. So did Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So did Death Note. So has literally every other horror property released in the last 5 years. Look, I'm not stupid. Stranger Things is objectively cool, okay? And even though I haven't had a chance to watch it, it's definitely on my list. It's no mystery how this show became so popular. But for the love of God, can we stop trying to replicate that same style in every other horror movie released since? God damn it! Five Nights at Freddy's is one of the most visually distinct indie franchises out there. For example, look at the first 4 games. Those games have class. The camera feeds are almost entirely black and white in the first 2. Color is there, but it's muted and the contrast is super low, making it very hard to see sometimes, which of course adds to the horror element. And the ambiance of being in an abandoned pizzeria was so striking it captivated millions. Ignoring all the lore and build-up over the years, the presentation of the game's core mechanics alone was enough to spawn such a high player base. But when you look at the movie, oh yeah, we'll just have neon lights everywhere, you know, we'll have like teal.
I was thinking like in every other shot we could have some like color bouncing off the actors.
Why don't we make every
scene
This movie looks like fun colors co-starring FNAF characters. Seriously, how the fuck are the stage lights and other neon crap still working after all this time? This place has been abandoned for decades. Hey, isn't this building supposed to have a limited power supply? Turn the goddamn lights off. Long gone are the days when you see this static animatronic giving you a blank stare while its mouth hangs open at an unnatural angle lit in monochromatic lighting and it actually sends a chill down your spine. I get it, visual presentation is subjective and everybody has their own style. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that the filmmakers can't have their creative liberties with how they want to present the property. Dimly lit films are just not fun to watch. Look at 2014's Godzilla, for example. That film got a lot of shit for all of its scenes being too dark to see the actual monsters fighting. This was criticized by movie critics and Godzilla fans alike. That's probably why this is one of the most divisive films in the franchise. So I understand that changes have to be made in order for the film to actually look good. Although personally, I wouldn't mind if the film was shot in total darkness. I mean, hell, I'm one of the people who actually didn't have a problem with the way Godzilla 2014 is presented. Yes, this is who you're listening to, the guy who didn't have a problem with Godzilla 2014. I always watch my movies in complete darkness. What I'm trying to say is that I understand why they made the change, but they could have adapted it way better. More light, sure, but why the hell does the pizzeria look like it's still in operation? Seriously, everything is functioning perfectly fine. The whole idea is that this place has been abandoned for years, but you don't see it. And the excessive amount of vibrant color in these scenes takes away from the fear factor yet again. I get it, back in the 80s, everything was bright and colorful. I totally get that. But the games made it scary. Matter of fact, now that I think about it, I can't actually recall seeing a single neon light in any FNAF game, period.
Disappointed!
That's right, ladies and gentlemen, this is not Five Nights at Freddy's the movie. This is Five Nights at Freddy's in the style of Security Breach, the movie. All the way down to the animatronics being overly expressive and have glowing eyes. Sigh. Just the biggest sigh in the world right now. This movie completely ditches the whole uncanny valley angle, one of the key aspects in what made the original FNAF games so terrifying, and instead opts for making the animatronics look angry and scary, oh glowing red eyes. The way those original 4 animatronics were introduced in that game was terrifying, and in this, it's just bland. Again, I understand a lot had to be held back due to the PG-13 rating, but good God. Also, they just had to throw in a blonde named Vanessa to get the bastardized 9-year-old fan base of Security Breach to buy tickets. It's not like they did anything with her character anyway, she's literally just an exposition dump for Mike. Well, I'm not going to say they didn't try. They tried to set up something interesting with her being William Afton's daughter, but it just doesn't land. Almost every character other than Mike and Abby just feels shallow most of the time. And yes, that includes William Afton. And for the love of God, don't even get me started on Aunt Jane. This bitch came straight from the Disney Channel, and you cannot convince me otherwise. I mean absolutely no disrespect to the actress who portrayed her. Mary Stuart Masterson is obviously very skilled and experienced in the field. But God, this character is just dumb. What I'm trying to say is that overall you can tell that this movie was in development hell for the longest time. Watching this film is an experience because you can tell the film has no idea what it's trying to be. Because the film is exploring so many different angles, it's hard to land a consistent tone. Therefore, it's presented like a fever dream. Now, I'm not just going to sit here and bash the film all day. There are certainly scenes in this movie that work. The chemistry between Mike and Abby is executed beautifully, and I love every single scene these two share together. And when they really focus on trying to make the animatronics scary, they succeed. Most notably in the opening sequence. I mean, Jesus Christ, that was one of my favorite parts of the entire film. It just goes to show that if they focused their time on making the film actually scary, it would have worked way better. But instead, as previously established, the plot is just all over the place, so the film doesn't know what to focus on. And if the film can't accurately land a specific focus, then there's no way in hell it's going to land a specific tone. The fact that in a Five Nights at Freddy's movie, I'm questioning if I should be scared when a scene is playing out is a huge issue. And in my opinion, that's all due to the presentation, what we're actually seeing on screen. In simple terms, the games made you feel scared. I'm not going to act like every game was some magnum opus of terror, but the games legit made you nervous. You felt trapped and helpless in this claustrophobic environment as these lifeless-looking things crawled their way towards you. And you would think, in a big-budget Hollywood movie produced by fucking Blumhouse, that the feeling of creeping anxiety and sheer terror would be expressed vividly on screen. Instead, this film feels like most of the time it forgot the most important rule of making a film. Show. Don't tell. Here's a quick little challenge. I want you, to tell me what Five Nights at Freddy's is all about without telling me anything about the core gameplay or extensive lore. Sounds hard, right? Well, not really. Here's something that I put together in roughly 5 minutes. Five Nights at Freddy's is the story about what unchecked mental illness and a lust for power can do to a person, driving them to commit unthinkable sins and unholy acts in the name of everlasting life. The story grapples with how these actions are rectified by the one who suffered the most at said evildoer's hands. The story of FNAF grapples with the themes of betrayal, murder, revenge, and recovery. How one man stands tall to rectify the sins of his father. No matter how terrible things get, there will always be a light at the end of the tunnel. No matter how harshly or how long one suffers, they can always rise against the forces of evil. Now, I don't know about you, but those sound like some pretty deep themes to tackle in a horror game. And it's a true testament to Scott Cawthon's storytelling abilities, as well as how he presents these themes throughout each game. When I found out that Scott Cawthon made up the lore as he went along, I was genuinely amazed because with how intricate and detailed this story is, as well as how powerful the themes presented are, it feels like he plotted this all out from the beginning, but that's just simply not the case. A feat like that, especially from a small indie developer, was pretty much unheard of, and it's a true testament to the genius of Scott Cawthon. So, now I want you to do the exact same thing, but instead of the games, try the movie. Tell me the overarching theme or message the film presents without going too deep into the story or what we actually see happen. The importance of family? Are you fucking kidding me? Now, maybe I'm just slow and I don't fully understand what I'm looking at here, but did this film really just go for the whole nothing is more important than family message? Arguably the most overused and unoriginal theme you can have for a movie? The same message that has been repeatedly pounded into our heads from years and years of watching movies, and they went with that. Now, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like this theme is completely irrelevant and you're not allowed to have it in your movie. On the contrary, this theme is still very relevant today, and a very powerful message if presented correctly. As overused as it is, this theme has stood the test of time and can still leave a great impact on viewers. My question is, why the hell is it in a Five Nights at Freddy's movie? This franchise has mountains and mountains of content that a film could base its message on, and they went for the family angle? And to add insult to injury, it's not even the Afton family they focus on. It's the Schmidt family, whoever the hell those people are. Okay, I've heard some theories online that Mike's dad is actually Henry, and that's going to be a big driving force in the potential sequels, but you shouldn't rely on sequels to make your first movie make sense. That's what The Amazing Spider-Man 2 did, and we all know how much semen that thing swallows. The games never really had a hard and fast theme or overarching messages. They were simply a compilation of ideas from Scott as he made the series up as he went along. A film is the perfect opportunity to bring this story forward and provide a theme cohesive with the given narrative. However, this film feels just as disjointed as the games, and while some may find that as an accurate depiction and worthy of praise, I am not impressed. I feel like it was a huge missed opportunity to make a story that was very disjointed and confusing more cohesive and powerful. As perplexing as the games were at times, you could still piece together a narrative if you dug deep enough. The puzzle pieces littered throughout each game are more than enough to spawn a powerful theme or message for a film. Something beyond killer animatronics and the fight for survival. Something that could really impact the viewer, as every good film should. But instead of doing that, the core motif that this film tries to sell you on just comes across as stale. And it certainly doesn't help that the way this is incorporated into the plot is a total joke. The big problem in this family dynamic is that Mike is a shitty older brother, but why? Maybe the film is trying to say that he's neglectful, but because he leaves her with a babysitter while he's at work? Because he sleeps a lot, dreaming about the tragedy that changed his life for the worse? I'm sorry, are we supposed to antagonize this guy because he has crippling PTSD, or am I getting this completely backwards? Sometimes it feels like even the film knows that it's not conveying this message very well. That's why they had to throw the aunt in here to cause drama. Again, don't even get me started on this bitch. What I'm trying to get across is that given what we see happen on screen, Mike is trying his damnedest to be the best bigger brother that he can to his obviously autistic younger sister. I don't really care if it's never explicitly stated in the film. This brat is clearly on the spectrum. Film theory, eat your heart out. What I surmise is that if this film really wanted to present this message in the way I think they tried to, they really should have leaned more into the neglect angle. Like, they could have had a few scenes here and there of Abby trying to get Mike's attention, but he ignores her because he's too preoccupied dealing with his dreams or something to do with the pizzeria. Hell, they probably could have thrown in a scene where Mike is asleep dreaming about his younger brother. He's trying to figure out details, but then suddenly Abby wakes him up and he lashes out at her. That certainly wouldn't make for a likable protagonist, but would have at least been something. When I first started plotting out the structure for this video, I actually didn't know how to tackle this segment because I thought I had the theme of the movie down pat. Trauma recovery.
You know, Michael living in the past due to the death of his brother, trying to figure out what he could have done differently, but then realizing that current matters are more important and choosing to take charge of his present life and living in the moment. Finally moving on from the trauma that ruined his life and taking charge for a better future. In fact, the more I think about it, the better it sounds. And for a while, I thought that was what this movie was trying to convey, but they just had to throw in the whole,
I hereby formally apologize for my failure to uphold traditional family values and pledge to never stray from the path of righteousness from this point forward. I was foolish to ignore said duties inherent in my position in this family of ours, and am very regretful of my actions thus far.
Speech. The same speech we've seen recited by countless other characters in countless other movies, countless other times. Of course, like every other aspect of the film that I've covered so far, I would be remiss to neglect the fact that they tried. Matter of fact, they introduced the perfect foil for Mike and Abby in this film, Vanessa. Her being William Afton's daughter is such a good twist that could have been explored wonderfully had the film presented its message more concisely. Instead, the film just treats this revelation like, oh, that's a thing, and then we move on like nothing even happened. But I will say I really like to add a detail that after killing Garrett, William gave Vanessa his toy plane. It's chilling. I love it. Good job. What I'm saying is this theme is fine to have as your message in a Five Nights at Freddy's movie. It is unoriginal and it is kind of contrived, but it can work. However, given the clumsy build-up, the complete irrelevance to the source material, and overall sloppy implementation, the message or theme or whatever you want to call it that this film tries to get across falls flat on its face. Well, this movie happened. That's all I can say about it, really. It happened. It was here. People got hyped. It's on DVD now. Everybody can watch it. And now it's just done. People waited for a Five Nights at Freddy's movie for so long. The expectations were so high. And this is what we get. A messily put together plot with a haphazard attempt at adapting the lore to the big screen with a shit ton of filler and just dumb crap thrown in for no other reason than to pad the runtime. I'll be the first to say it, this film was boring. I don't know how they managed to make Five Nights at Freddy's boring, but they did it. They fucking did it. And what blows my mind is that I seem largely alone in this opinion. FNAF fans from all over the world have praised this movie to no end, saying it's the best thing ever, it's the best thing they've ever seen. It captured their childhood because they played FNAF when they were 8, and seeing it on the big screen, it's like this huge life goal. They can scratch off their bucket list, they can die happy, and I'm just like, no. This isn't what we waited for. This is not a good movie. Am I the asshole? Am I stupid? Am I missing something? Because what the fuck? It's not a bad movie. It's okay, but that's all it is. It's just serviceable. It's entertaining to watch, but that's all it provides. Just mindless entertainment. There's no substance here. I can only think of a handful of scenes that even approached capturing the essence of this beautiful franchise. And don't get me wrong, those scenes are great. The fucking Springlock scene had me in tears for the first time I watched it. In fact, those scenes alone make me glad I watched it. But outside of those scenes, I fail to see anything in this movie that I can say is gonna leave a lasting impact. I'm not trying to say there wasn't effort put into this film, because that would just be a flat-out lie. The animatronics are stunning, the acting is amazing, and I'm sure Emma Tammy tried her best, but this movie just doesn't resonate with me. Like I said, maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm the asshole, maybe I just don't get it, and this video is all for naught, but I feel like there's more to it. This movie failed. It utterly failed to capture the essence of the source material, the stuff we were waiting to see on the big screen for almost a decade. It's just not here. Like I said before, I felt empty after watching this. I feel like I had no reason to be excited. It was just okay. And considering the hype and buildup behind this movie for almost a decade, okay isn't okay. The only thing this movie really crushed was the box office. And that is solely due to the name Five Nights at Freddy's. If you took this script and based it for a non-Five Nights at Freddy's horror film, like children's toys coming alive or the like a haunted playground or some shit, this wouldn't have made half as much money. We all know that. I felt so empty after watching this movie. And that emptiness resonated deep inside of me, and it inspired me to make this video. I wanted this film to be huge. I wanted it to be the perfect storm between the games and the books and just this huge collaborative effort to show what such a powerful, creative community that Five Nights at Freddy's can produce, but it just didn't happen. Don't get me wrong. I don't hate the film. In fact, this is a film I know I'm going to rewatch over and over again. As a longtime FNAF fan, how could I not? Certain parts of the movie really stick out and make me glad that I watched it, as previously established. But ever since it was first announced back in 2015, the build-up and hype for this movie was insane, and I was expecting a whole lot more. Again, I don't hate the film, but I can't say that I love it. I'm disappointed, and sometimes that's even worse. When a film makes you angry, that means it resonated enough to leave an impact. But I'm not even angry at the film, I'm just sad. And it kills me. It really, really kills me. Five Nights at Freddy's has been such a big aspect of my life for so long. I actually can't put into words my love for this franchise. And to see a big budget film just disrespect it like this, it's just so sad. And the fact that nobody else seems to see it that way just makes me feel more alone in this opinion. Hopefully I'm not alone. Hopefully some of y'all have something to say about this movie, because I can't be the only one who feels this way. Maybe my expectations were set too high, but this film really failed to deliver for me on almost every front. In closing, the Five Nights at Freddy's film, at least in my opinion, is an underwhelming, unfocused, and frankly, really boring slog of a film. But it's impossible to deny that when the film gets it right, it's amazing. Certain elements of the film work like magic, and it truly encapsulates what the franchise is all about. But unfortunately, those moments are few and far between, as the film's narrative would rather focus on irrelevant subplots and unresolved family drama rather than the core horror elements that helped establish the franchise in the first place. It's a messy, incohesive husk, resembling what a Five Nights at Freddy's film should be. And as a longtime FNAF fan, I can forgive it to an extent, and will continue to enjoy the film to the best of my ability for years to come. However, it's impossible to deny that the Five Nights at Freddy's film completely misses the mark.
Hey guys, thanks for watching this video on why I think the FNAF movie wasn't too hot. It's a real shame because I love FNAF, I really do, and I know I may come across as cynical in the video, but I hope I express my true love for this franchise. I love this. Not this, but, you know, Five Nights at Freddy's as a whole. It really sucks because I wanted this movie to be so great, and in my opinion, it just wasn't great. If you think it was great, that's great, but how many times have I said great? I hope you enjoyed the movie more than I did, or maybe you didn't. Maybe you agree with me, and we can discuss in the comment section below. This fan is being a jackass. Yeah, just let me know what you guys think of the film in the comments below. Maybe we can have civil discussion, or you can curse me out, you know. This is YouTube after all. Make sure to give me feedback, because as much of a bitch as this video was to make, I actually really enjoyed making it. And I really hope I can do more video essay type things in the future. My channel's been locked in toy reviews for the longest time, and it just really doesn't jive with what I want to do. Like, I love doing those. They're fun and they're convenient, but I want to branch out and definitely do different types of content. So, I mean, any feedback would be great. That'd just be perfect. Let me know what you guys thought down below. Leave a like, share, get my name out there. And also, don't forget to check out my independent found footage horror series, The Haunting of Malcolm Grady, debuting next year. There's 2 teaser videos on my channel already. You can check them out. I'll probably link them in the description, actually. This project has been laying dormant in my mind since like 2020, ever since the quarantine hit. So it would really mean a lot if you guys check that out and just show your support. You've showed your support like insanely. Like I could not be where I am right now without you guys. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Leave a like down below if you agree with me. Leave a dislike if you don't agree with me. Doesn't matter. I can't see them. But above all else, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Peace. God, the copyright claims on this video are probably going to be insane.